Greetings. My name is Donald Dew, and I'm President and CEO of Habilitative Systems, Inc. We just want to take a moment today to welcome you to the HSI family. Clearly, you have the credentials, qualifications, commitment to be a part of this effort, this mission, this purpose in the West Side and South Side communities within the Chicagoland area. HSI was born in 1978. We grew out of a mission by the Clare Christian United Methodist Church as part of their community ministry to ensure that vital services are provided to West Side residents. Since that time, which we operated, of course, about 3 programs, HSI in 1978 began to expand those programs, in large part to be responsive to community needs. So from 3 programs, just imagine in 1978 to over 30 programs currently in 2021, we have truly been responsive to the community needs. Now, I'm born and raised on the west side of Chicago. Again, grew up right around the old Chicago Stadium, moved out into the Austin community, and I've lived and breathed the west side for a very, very long time. I've been employed here at HSI since 1984, and I've had the pleasure of serving as its president and CEO for over 30 years. So this is more than a job for me. I trust, I hope, that it's going to be more than just a job for you. It's time for us to be responsive to our community, to in fact rebuild the social fabric within our communities. And we've been doing that at HSI since 1978. Every major issue that have been impacting our community, we have addressed in some way, form, or fashion here at Habilitative Systems, Inc. Infant issues. At one point in time, the infant mortality rate on the west side of Chicago was synonymous to third world countries. We formed a network of providers to address that issue. And in fact, we were able to get that rate down significantly. The initiative was called 9 by 90. We're trying to get that rate of infant death down by 1990, and we were able to do so. You know, we also were engaged in child welfare. At one point in time, it's important to note that Habilitative Systems, Inc. was the largest child welfare agency provider, Black managed, in the state of Illinois. We had a budget for child welfare alone in excess of over $5 million. We had over 500 children in care, and we had over 150 foster parents providing necessary, needed nurturing and support to children who had been abused and neglected. We also became extremely involved and impactful in getting children returned back home to their natural families. And that, of course, meant that we were able to get the families the support that they needed around those basic human needs, those social determinants of health, so that we could, in fact, provide the needed support and, in fact, reunify those families. That initiative was called the Front End Approach. So every initiative that has been promulgated at the federal, state, county, and or city level, in some way, form, or fashion, HSI has been a part of. I can also speak about the whole deinstitutionalization movement for people with developmental disabilities. Right around the time of the American with Disabilities Act, which was passed back in 1990, HSI was front and center in terms of that effort. We were going to 5 different state facilities throughout the state of Illinois, identifying persons who could benefit from community-based placement, and in fact, we were able to get them placed in the community. Fast forwarding, we're able to build 5 new facilities, commonly now called community integrated living arrangements, 5 of those new facilities on the west side of Chicago that basically accommodated 40 persons who were formerly institutionalized, who now, even now, 40 plus years later, are still enjoying a greater quality of life on the west side of Chicago. 40 individuals formerly institutionalized, now enjoying and really embracing community life. We also have been able to identify the needs of persons with mental illness. So we have been providing a number of different programs, supervised residential programs. Many times persons who have been incarcerated need to have housing. Housing is one of the most important things that you can provide for a person who has been formerly incarcerated. Well, what were the issues for that incarceration? A lot of times those issues related to mental illness. In fact, Sheriff Dart at Cook County Jail talks about the fact that the Cook County Jail is the largest mental health facility in the country. Well, think about it. Those persons need treatment. They don't need incarceration. HSI provides that residential alternative. We provide case management. We provide outpatient support services, psychotherapeutically. We were able to, in fact, even open the Westside Community Triage and Wellness Center 3 years ago, back in 2018, to operate 24/7, 365 days a year to address the trauma and violence and the continued experience of trauma generationally for our community. So when you think about it again, being responsive to community need. During 2020 and 2019, we launched the Census Initiative. We brought together over 30 different organizations and formed a major collaborative that was able to impact 8 community areas on the south side, another 5 community areas on the west side, and in fact, identify folks who are hard to count. Why? Because it was important that we leverage and in fact get our share of federal dollars to support the needs of Black folk on the west side and south sides of Chicago. Again, looking at the importance of being responsive to community needs. With the pandemic, COVID-19, at the same time, we were involved in the effort for the census. We were standing in long lines with people waiting for food, waiting to be tested, trying to get basic issues and needs addressed. We were able to, in fact, get over 45,000 people referred for vital services who could have otherwise been in the emergency room, been involved in institutional care, homeless, and or experienced death. But because our 30 partners were there getting them the vital services that they needed, we were able to get those 45,000 people referred. And now we continue to move on. We look at the contact tracing effort, as an effort also to mitigate the scourge of the pandemic. So we've got now individuals who have been involved in a massive community effort to ensure that the word is out, that we're tracking and making sure that the pandemic is not spread within our community. And we also know that African American folks within the city of Chicago and across this nation have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. So again, HSI is being responsive and doing our part to ensure that we're addressing these issues. Now, think about it from this historical perspective. There's only been 2 executive directors at HSI, Larry T. Bird and Donald J. Dew. Larry Bird was our first executive director for 10 years, and he served in that position from 1978 to a little bit past 1989, when we experienced the untimely death of Larry. And it was very, very difficult and challenging for the organization back in those days. But there was a gentleman by the name of Erwin France, who had been an advisor to at least 3 or 4 Chicago mayors, who had been leading retreats, management retreats for the organization in the late 1980s. At that time, Dr. France had said to Larry Bird, Larry, you're doing a fabulous job, but if something were to happen to you, this agency would close. And in fact, that was a prophecy that, we did not want to see manifest. So we began doing these management retreats and we got people involved. And we were affectionately called the Turks and the Turkettes. It was a management team, the management corps, trying to make sure that a lot of leadership was developed within the ranks of the organization. So a lot of our philosophy, a lot of our strategy is trying to make sure that you grow, that you develop, that you have a career path here at Habilitative Systems, Inc. Think about it. The agency could have shut down back in 1989, 1990 during that executive transition. I got to call a lady, one of our founders by the name of Elois McCoy. Elois McCoy, who one of our senior buildings is named after, was a founder and board member for Habilitative Systems, Inc. She came into my office one evening and she said, Donald, you're our new executive director. Don't let us down. I had no idea that was coming. All I wanted to do was make sure that the agency survived, that it was sustained, and that in fact we were able to take it to another level. So I got the call. I ultimately applied for the job. Over 100 folks applied for this job. I was appointed in June of 1990, and again have been trying to lead and serve with the support and tremendous management expertise that is in this organization that you are now a part of. That is why we're still here. It's because of persons like you. That is why we say you are HSI. I am HSI. It is no Donald Dew and little you. It is all of us, in fact, making a difference within this community and having the impact that we need to have. I should also say this. All of what we're doing right now is done according to strategy and according to design. In fact, we looked at the accreditation standards for the Commission on the Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities, and in fact used that as a blueprint back in 1990 to assist the organization to get through a very strained and stressful period of executive transition. We used those standards as a blueprint, and it did make a difference. I became a surveyor with CARF. Dr. Dixon became a surveyor with CARF, and we traveled around the country surveying programs and looking to ensure that these programs was providing services to people with disabilities in qualitative ways. These efforts really paid off for the organization, because not only did we become CARF accredited, we also sought CARF accreditation repeatedly. We were able to receive a 1-year accreditation first time out, and we've had 3-year accreditations ever since 1991. We also became the first African American agency within the state of Illinois to maintain and to achieve dual national accreditation with both CARF and COA, which is the Council on Accreditation for Children and Families. We've always been about quality, we've always been about competency, we've always been about impact. We don't want folks to be a part of this team, a part of this family, and think that this is just a job. We want you to understand that you are serving family, you are serving community. You are in fact the next wave of the revolution. You are in fact making a difference right now in the lives of folk who would otherwise be in prison, otherwise be in mental institutions, otherwise be disabled, otherwise be homeless, otherwise experience mortality. You are in fact here to make a difference, and you can and will. So with all that being said, Lord knows I could keep on going for hours and hours and hours. I just want you to just have a brief sampling of how important the mission is at Habilitative Systems, and that you now have an opportunity to be a part of this major mission serving the West and South Side communities within the state of Illinois. And please be reminded of the fact that the impact that we've got on the West Side is now having impact statewide, is now having impact nationwide, in fact, having impact around the world, because there are persons from other countries, from other parts of the United States who are coming to HSI, looking at this model of care and saying, we need to do what you guys are doing and replicate the work that you're doing. So stand up, be counted, be a part of the HSI family. Welcome.